Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I've just had one of those days where I'm just reminded that I am a foreigner in the Philippines, not just in the title, but in essence. And there will be things which I will just never, ever understand about the Philippines. Yeah. I have to laugh at some of the other. I saw one video of an expat that had arrived here fairly recently. I've been here for 7 years. It's not. I mean, a lot of other people have been here for a lot longer than that and still don't understand. But he said, I don't understand it. Why don't they have any doorbells? So that's the shelf in the hardware store that has all the dust on it, is the one with doorbells. And they've only ever had 3 in stock, and they've still got them in stock. It's just, if you're a foreigner, one thing for sure. When I first got out here and I just started work on building this house, and I remember saying on a video, you will always be the foreigner, and after all these years I'm still a foreigner. And Beth and I have been married for nearly, I mean it's going on for 7 years, and she still refers to me as a foreigner. So it's never going to change. But it's when you go around to places where people are offering a service and you realize how different they do things, that now you got to get out of your head that I'm complaining. I'm speaking out of amazement rather than annoyance, because one of the things that I said right at the beginning was, and realised it, was that in order to continue to be happy here, you have to retain your sense of magic that you had when you first got here. That sense of magic that you had when you got into your first tricycle and you sat there with your partner, wife, girlfriend, and bowled along the road at 30 kilometers an hour, with huge buses and trucks right behind you trying to overtake. And you have to retain that sense of magic, otherwise you'll just be annoyed. I see lots of expats and they're in a store. This is probably when they haven't been here for too long, and they're trying to be understood. Well, it just seems to be the case that foreigners are arrogant, because they come over here and they think that they're going to change everything. You know, it's almost as if they step off the plane and say, "Okay, Philippines, I'm here. Start changing," and it's not going to happen. No matter what I may say to Beth about a particular thing, it will be so difficult to get her to change. Now, when we finally got a truck with AC, Now, I've spoken to other expats and they've found the same thing. The thermostat is akin to talking to an angel about how things are in heaven. It's just beyond understanding. And that's the thermostat. See, with a thermostat, you come in, you turn the AC on, and if you don't want to come back and be turning the AC and fiddling about with it, you know what the setting is for your comfort level, and you turn it to that. Now at first, because the house is hot and you just got in and you want it to be very cold straight away, and it's not, you just wait for a little while. The AC adjusts the temperature of the house and it retains that temperature, if it's good, at the temperature that you want. So you never come back again. It's a little bit slow sometimes, but it makes it right. It's called a thermostat. Now it works the opposite if it's hot. If you're trying to be hot, you come in and you're freezing cold. So what the Filipino would do, and this is the Filipino as a foreigner abroad somewhere, they will come in, and I know that what they will do is they will crank the thing up so that it's like 1 degree above being dropped into hell, and then when it gets too hot they turn it off, so it goes back to being cold again. Instead of knowing what the number is and then turning it to the number, they don't do that. They don't think that way. When I get into my truck, it's the time when I have time alone, and time alone for me is especially precious, you know, because in the Philippines you're just with people all the time. You're with ambient noise all the time. You're with a TV that's on all the time. You're with there's not just 1 or 2 dogs. We've got, I think, 8 or 9 dogs. That answers the question of the man who wants to know why they don't have doorbells. They've got 8 or 9 dogs, for heaven's sake. Why do they need a doorbell? So you get used to this constantly being with people. So Filipinos have a different sense of privacy. You know, if you can remember back to perhaps when you were in love with a particular lady and you wanted to be with her. Now, in the West, you have time alone. You go out and you go out together. You go out on a date, and it's just the 2 of you. Here, if we go out, if I say, how about we go and drive down to Tubigon for a McDonald's? Now, we don't have a McDonald's in Taliban, so it's a huge treat to go down, believe it or not. Whoever would think in America that you would drive for over an hour to have a McDonald's? It wouldn't happen, would it? But it happens here. And I go out, and this was early on, I would go out and I would say, well, why don't the 2 of us just drive down there? I'd get out and we'd have 3 children with us. I'm talking about three kids. Because in the Philippine culture, truly, a child is a blessing. Now, I'm completely done on this now. I love having kids with us when we go, and they make life fun. Especially Filipino kids are just so full of life that it's great fun. But as I tried to explain to someone today, we used to do, before we were unfettered, when we were unfettered, we used to do what we called first experience for children. We would work out something that was a first experience for a lot of kids, poor kids, you know, living on dirt floor houses, and we would get a gang of kids together, which would end up being double what we had planned, because that's what happens in the Philippines. if a kid is going to go along, they'll say to their friend or their cousin or both, hey, we're going to McDonald's, you know, why don't you come? And so instead of one arriving, it's 2 or 3. Well, we did a first experience of McDonald's. Now, imagine a situation where children here have access to a TV in some way or another, and they'll have been watching these fun ads, commercials on television. And let's face it, McDonald's knows, they know how to make commercials which will make McDonald's almost seem like a second Disneyland. I mean, it will all look like so much fun. Well, the kids have been watching this, and they've been watching it for most of their lives, and they've never been to a McDonald's. So that was my bright idea. Why don't we take them on a first experience to McDonald's? Well, on McDonald's, on the ads, they've been advertising it all, haven't they? Chicken nuggets, fillet of fish, the Big Mac. What about a double cheeseburger? I mean, something that's like this that they don't even know how to eat at first. French fries, tomato sauce, and sweet and sour. Just so many magical things that they've had pushed to them ever since they were very small. Well, on one particular occasion, we had tried to keep it to about 12 or 15. We ended up driving in the multicab with, I think it was 23 children in the back with their knees up under their chin for over an hour. I know about safety, I know all of that. We're in the Philippines and it's different here. Well, we drove down there and they put up with that drive for over an hour without a single complaint and having fun as well. That's Filipino children. So we get down there and I told a little lie. Instead of saying these are deprived children, I said I got a manager and I said we had them all seated and I said these are children from an orphanage and we're just bringing them out for a first experience in McDonald's. So could you just come along and take the order and then get a couple of your staff to come over and just serve us? Absolutely, sir. Wonderful. And that's exactly what they did. So now we come to the order, taking the order. 23. Now I'm going around thinking that we're going to be going, all right, yes, you, all right, fillet of fish, French fries, and a small Coke, pineapple, water, and you, right, Big Mac, French fries, and that's what I have in mind. We ordered 23 chicken and rice. First experience in McDonald's, which they've been watching ads in for all their lives, all their young lives, and they have chicken and rice, and are completely happy with it. Nobody wanted French fries, nobody wanted a beef burger, nobody wanted a fillet of fish, nobody wanted any of that. Chicken and rice. So how can you understand this? It's very, very difficult. Very difficult. We went today, just to round up. I mean, there's so much to say. I mean, this should be a series of 29 videos to try to tell you the differences between a Filipino and an other foreign lady, no matter how wonderful, the differences are so immense. But we went to an attorney. Now this is a kind of a working grassroots attorney. She doesn't charge very much. She has a tiny little office that's about as big as, well, not as big as this little living room of ours. So we're looking at something that's maybe 10 by 8. And you go in there. Now usually when you're a foreigner you think, oh, I'm going to go to see an attorney, and you go and you have the waiting area with the secretary who finally ushers you in and says, you can go in now, sir. And you go into an office, and it's got at least one wall with a million books that probably have never been opened, and a nice desk, and he sits behind his desk. He says, what can I do for you, Mr. And you go in, and it's all terribly confidential, isn't it? When we went today, and this lady is wonderful. She's a CPA and an attorney, a lawyer. You go in, and it's an open door onto a corridor with a couple of seats in the corridor hallway for people who can't get into the office, which is usually more than anybody, any more than something like maybe 5. See, so she's in there sitting at a tiny little desk, and she has another gentleman who is also sitting next to her at another tiny little desk, and everybody knows your business. So there's no secrets. And I'm assuming that if you speak the language, obviously I don't, but I listen, and people are discussing their issues and their problems, and there's no privacy, there's no confidentiality. And they ask questions, oh well, what happened then, and people are telling them. It couldn't happen in foreign land, could it? It just couldn't. So, my dear wife has come in now, and so I can't talk about Filipinos, which is here. She'll come over and give me a hard time. In fact, I'd have to say that probably the most endearing thing, aspect, characteristic, quality of a Filipino woman is the ability, no matter what, to laugh in the face of adversity. We foreigners are much too serious, much too serious, and we're too arrogant as well. We think that the way that we think is learnable for them. It's no more learnable for them than their ways are learnable for us. We can watch, we can learn of their characteristics. Will we be able to understand them? I don't think so. We'll talk about this again, I'm convinced. Thanks for watching. This is a foreigner in the Philippines, in Confusion.